Hello everybody, welcome to you all in my lecture. Today we will learn about past perfect and past perfect continuous tense. These tenses are advanced tenses, but it's not hard to learn. These tenses will actually allow you to talk about things that had happened in the past in a much more interesting and powerful way. Alright, are you ready to begin? Okay, let's begin with past perfect tense. What is past perfect tense? The past perfect tense is, of course, the past. So, everything we talk about past perfect has to do with the past. It really relates the relation between two actions that happened in the past. And the actions that happened before the second action is the action in the past perfect. So it means the activity that was completed before another one in the past and they are both done. So right now in the present both activities are done or completed. It is really specific way in English to show the relationship between these tenses. So whenever we are using the past perfect, it means that is the event that happened first. This tense is sometimes called past of the past. Let me explain why. To be clear, let's look at this timeline. Suppose 11:40 is now and everything before that is in the past. If we look at the sentence, the class started at 11, I joined at 11:30. Right now, this is not past perfect. These are just two separate sentences in the simple past. But we are now going to connect them in a shortened way. Let me show you. When I joined, the class had started. This is past perfect tense. So it allows us to show or talk about two or more things that happened in the past, and we want to show which of these things happened first in the past. Alright? So in this case, what happened first, 11 o'clock or 11:30? The class started at 11. That happened first. So whatever happened first, we express in past perfect tense. The other part of the sentence can be just in simple past. That is, I joined. So once again, we use the past perfect tense when we are talking about two or more things, both of which happened in the past, and we want to show which of them happened earlier in the past. The one which happened first is the one where we use past perfect tense. So now let's just look very carefully and basically at the structure of this sentence or tense. The structure is subject plus had plus past participle form of the verb plus object. For example, he had studied English before he moved to London. I had never run a marathon before 2015. Well, it's different for regular verb and for irregular verb. For a regular verb, the past participle is just the same form that you would use in the regular past simple tense, like work becomes worked, study becomes studied, complete becomes completed. These are regular verbs in the simple past tense, and that's the same past participle form that we use here with the regular verb. Now, with the irregular verb, you do have to learn what that past participle form is. Why? Because with the irregular verb, it often changes, or sometimes it doesn't change. There are all kinds of unusual combinations and changes which you have to learn and which you probably already learned. So examples of irregular verbs are go is the base form of the verb, its past form is went, and in third form it becomes gone. Go, went, gone. See, saw, seen. Do, did, done. We are looking for that third form of the verb, right? That means we use gone, seen, done, etc. Now, let's learn how to change into negative and interrogative form. Let's start with positive form. In the positive sentence, you will just use the subject and had plus verb 3. For example, I had worked, we had worked, they had worked, you had worked, he had worked, she had worked, it had worked. Same auxiliary verb had for all kinds of subject. Okay. Now in negative sentence, we would simply add not after auxiliary verb had. For example, I had not worked, you had not worked, we had not worked, they had not worked, he had not worked, she had not worked, it had not worked. So if you want to use contraction form, then you can use hadn't instead of had not. Now let's look at the question. As we know, when it's the question form, we have to change the order of the sentence. Now we start with had. For example, had I worked, had we worked, had they worked, had you worked, had he worked, had she worked, had it worked. If you want to change in WH question, you would add WH words like what, when, where, how, why, etc. and say where had you worked before you joined. And don't forget to keep question mark. Anytime you are adding that WH words, that's fine, but just make sure you keep the rest of the structures same. Okay? Now, let's see when and where do we exactly use past perfect tense. Coming back to when do we use past perfect tense, like I have said in completed actions before something in the past. For example, the movie had already started when she got there. Just like I mentioned before, first the movie started, then she got there. So, you have to think about the order of events. The first event or earlier event is in the past perfect, that is, the movie had already started. And the second event, she got there, is in the simple past. Next example is, before the guest arrived, we had cleaned the house. And then another way to use this tense is duration before something in the past. For example, I had lived in Bhaktapur for 15 years before I moved back to Lalitpur. Here, for 15 years refers duration of time. Lastly, we can also use past perfect tense with some expressions like already, yet, since, for, never, just, etc. For example, we had already sold the house. They had never seen snow. Okay, we completed past perfect tense. Now it's time to learn thoroughly about the past perfect continuous tense. It helps to talk about something that began in the past and it happened over a period of time up to another event in the past. There needs to have at least two events in the past, and we need to make perfectly clear which event came first. It emphasizes process or duration of that process. However, duration doesn't continue till now. The past perfect continuous tense tells us how long, just like the present perfect continuous tense, but this time the action continues up to a point in the past rather than the present. To construct this sentence or tense, we need subject, auxiliary verb had been, present participle form of the verb or verb form, and object. The structure is subject plus had been plus present participle form of the verb plus object. For example, Wendy had a headache because the kids had been screaming all morning. First event relates to the kids screaming. As a result of that, Wendy gets a headache. And for the reason why we use past perfect continuous here is to focus on the amount of time to which the kids were screaming. We also know that the screaming came first and Wendy's headache came second. Headache is the most recent event in the past. Next example is Derek had not been studying when all of a sudden He panicked. Okay, let's learn how to change positive sentence into negative and question form. Let's start from positive form. We use helping verb had been with all kinds of subject like I, we, they, you, he, she, it. It doesn't matter what the subject is. We always use had been and verb ing. Let's see examples. I had been working. We had been working. They had been working. You had been working. He had been working. She had been working. It had been working. Now, let's take a look at the negative form. How to change this sentence into negative. It's very simple. Just add not after had, like as in the past perfect. Let me clear you with some examples. I had not been working. We had not been working. They had not been working. You had not been working. He had not been working. She had not been working. It had not been working. Now it's time to ask the question form. So what to do in the question form? You simply alter the order. I mean, keep had at the front. Then subject follows helping verb had. Okay, let's see examples. Had I been working? Had we been working? Had they been working? Had you been working? Had he been working? Had she been working? Had it been working? Now it's time to ask the question, what are its uses? The main use of the past perfect continuous tense is to express an action or the situation that was ongoing before another action or situation in the past. For example, Robin had been studying Spanish for 2 years before he went to Spain. The first part of the sentence, Robin had been studying Spanish, that happened and it was ongoing before he went to Spain. So, this action is in the past perfect tense and the action that happened later is in the past simple tense. We can also use this tense to show the cause of an action or situation in the past. For example, the road was wet because it had been raining. That second part of the sentence, it had been raining, shows why the road was wet. In this way, we completed our today's lesson. I hope all of you have understood clearly. So this is the exercise which you can practice. Thank you.